Hey guys, Jared with Trident Fly Fishing, and today we're going to be tying a copper john. So in the vise I just have a Gamakatsu S10 in a size 12, and then I have a gold bead to match. So the first thing I'm going to do here is just add some lead for my underbody. And the lead is really important with this fly because when you wrap it with copper wire, you have to make sure you create a nice even underbody, and the lead is just going to allow me to do that. So I just have a 6/0 uni thread in here, and traditionally this is tied with black thread. At the end here I'm just going to use a Sharpie to color it. So just creating my nice smooth underbody. The next thing I'm going to tie in is the tail, and for the tail I just have brown goose biots. So I'm going to tie them in splayed. Just going to grab them, flip them around so they're opposite, and take a measurement. So I want my tails to be about half the shank of the hook here, so that right there. So transfer this to my left hand, keep those pinched where I want them. Spin my thread counterclockwise, which will allow me to wrap around. So loose wrap and then position them. And come back and tie them down. Just make sure they are where I want them to be. Okay, come back up. So this is all part of creating that smooth tapered underbody. Just bringing everything up. Just trim those out. Okay. So for wire here, I just have a copper wire and a small. So I'm just going to start this right behind my lead wraps and then bring it back. Just make sure you bring it back all the way to the tails. Bring your thread up. And I'm just going to leave that there. So I'm going to begin wrapping my body. And it's pretty important that you create nice, tight, touching turns. I'm sure the fish don't care, but aesthetically, you want to make sure that you have a nice, smooth body. Just going to continue wrapping this forwards. Okay, so I'm going to continue wrapping this right up until this point here where I'm going to just forward of the hook point. You can continue wrapping this all the way up behind the bead, and I used to do that for added weight, but what would happen is my thorax would get crowded. So I'm going to bring my thread back right in front of the point here, and then I'm going to tie in my flash for my Wingcase. And I just have a piece of Flashaboo here. I'm just going to take one piece and double it over. So because I want this to be on top, you have to tie it in first, so when you fold it over, it comes out on top. So tie it right on top of the hook shank, bring it all the way back. The next thing I'm going to tie in is I just have a synthetic Scud Back here. You can use a multitude of different synthetic backs. Thin skin works as well, and I believe that's the original material. So just want to make sure that that's directly on top of the hook shank. Cover that up. So for my thorax, I'm going to use peacock hurl, and for a fly this size, 2 hurls. Just even them up, tie them in by the tips. Okay, let's just twist these together and wrap them as one piece. The reason I do that is it makes it a little bit of a stronger rope, and you're less likely to break them. Let's just tie those off. 1, 2, 1 in front and back over, and you can break them off. It's a pretty full hurl. So the next thing I'm going to do is just tie in my legs. I have partridge here with a nice dark feather, and I think it will look good for the legs. So the easiest way I've found to tie them in is to strip the fuzzies off the the butt of the feather, preen the feathers back, and create a little V with them, and tie them in together all at once. So I just created a little V with this. I'm going to put them right on top of the hook shank, pinch them, and just throw a loose wrap around them. Check where they ended up. And the reason I like to tie them this way is so that I can adjust them. I'm actually going to pull that off and readjust. But it's a lot easier to readjust these while they're still on the stem. So right there. All right. Yeah, they're not behaving, but so I'm just going to trim the excess off. The next thing I'm going to do is just pull over my thin skin right over the top, and then bring my flash over as well. So I'm just going to tie that down right behind the bead. Okay. Trim that off. And the reason I like to use this synthetic Scud Back is because it has a little bit of stretch to it, so it makes it for a clean tie-off point. So I'm just going to clean up around the bead here. And grab my Sharpie and just color my thread black. So it's always nice if you don't have the correct thread in the correct color. If you have a Sharpie, you can just quickly mark it up. Okay, so I'm just going to whip finish. And add a little bit of head cement. That's it. That's the Copper John. Great pattern, great searching pattern. Great pattern for me in high water. It gets down deep. Works really well in conjunction with like a hopper dropper. You can change up the sizes, change up the weight, put a tungsten bead on it, change the wire color. Great pattern. Thanks for watching, guys.